Hey everybody, welcome to HHPL's Pyjama Storytime. I'm Tammy. I'm really happy to be here tonight to share one of my very favorite books with you. It is Fantastic Mr. Fox by the very talented and fantastic Roald Dahl. What an author he is. He's written so many great books that you know, and a lot of them have been turned into movies. This one is a movie as well, and we have it here at the Halton Hills Public Library. So when we're done reading this book, come on over and borrow that movie because you will love it. But let's read the book first because the book's always better. All right, let's get started. Are you ready to find out about this fantastic Mr. Fox? Let's go. Chapter 1 is called The Three Farmers. I'm going to give you a little look at them. There they are. Love those drawings. Down in the valley, there were 3 farms. The owners of these farms had done well. They were rich men. They were also nasty men. All 3 of them were as nasty and mean as any men you could meet. Their names were Farmer Bogus, Farmer Bunce, and Farmer Bean. Bogus was a chicken farmer. He kept thousands of chickens. He was enormously large. This was because he ate 3 boiled chickens smothered with dumplings every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Bunce was a duck and goose farmer. He kept thousands of ducks and geese. He was a kind of pot-bellied dwarf. He was so short, his chin would have been under the water in the shallow end of any swimming pool in the world. His food was donuts and goose livers. He smashed the livers into a disgusting paste and then stuffed the paste into the donuts. Blech. This diet gave him a tummy ache and a beastly temper. Bean was a turkey and apple farmer. He kept thousands of turkeys in an orchard full of apple trees. He never ate any food at all. Instead, he drank gallons of strong cider, which he made from the apples in his orchard. He was as thin as a pencil and the cleverest of them all. Bogus and Bunce and Bean, one fat, one short, one lean. These horrible crooks, so different in looks, were nonetheless equally mean. That is what the children used to say when they saw them. Chapter 2, Mr. Fox. And there he is, our very handsome Mr. Fox. On a hill above the valley, there was a wood. In the wood there was a huge tree, and under the tree there was a hole. In that hole lived Mr. Fox and Mrs. Fox and their 4 small foxes. Every evening, as soon as it got dark, Mr. Fox would say to Mrs. Fox, "Well, my darling, what shall it be this time? A plump chicken from Bogus, a duck or a goose from Bunce, or a nice turkey from Bean?" And when Mrs. Fox had told him what she wanted, Mr. Fox would creep down into the valley in the darkness of the night and help himself. Bogus and Bunce and Bean knew very well what was going on, and it made them wild with rage. They were not men who liked to give anything away. Less still did they like anything to be stolen from them. So every night each of them would take his shotgun and hide in a dark place somewhere on his own farm, hoping to catch the robber. But Mr. Fox was too clever for them. He always approached a farm with the wind blowing in his face, and this meant that if any man were lurking in the shadows ahead, the wind would carry the smell of that man to Mr. Fox's nose from far away. Thus, if Mr. Bogus was hiding behind his chicken house, number 1, Mr. Fox would smell him out from 50 yards off and quickly change direction, heading for chicken house number 4 at the other end of the farm. "Dang and blast that lousy beast," cried Bogus. "I'd like to rip his guts out," said Bunce. "He must be killed," cried Bean. "But how?" said Bogus. "How on earth can we catch that blighter?" Bean picked his nose delicately with his long finger. "I've got a plan," he said. "You've never had a decent plan yet," said Bunce. "Shut up and listen," said Bean. "Tomorrow night we will all hide just outside the hole where the fox lives. We will wait there until he comes out, and then Bang, 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 bang. Very clever, said Bunce. But first we shall have to find the hole. My dear Bunce, I've already found it, said Crafty Bean. It's up in the wood on the hill. It's under a huge tree. Chapter 3, The Shooting. And there's Mr. Fox and Mrs. Fox this time. Well, my darling, said Mr. Fox, what shall it be for tonight? I think we'll have duck tonight, said Mrs. Fox. Bring us 2 fat ducks, if you please, 1 for me and 1 for the children. Ducks it shall be, said Mr. Fox. Bunce is best. Now do be careful, said Mrs. Fox. My darling, said Mr. Fox, I can smell those goons a mile away. I can even smell one from the other. Bogus gives off a filthy stink of rotten chicken skins. Bunce reeks of goose livers. And as far as Bean, the fumes of apple cider hang around him like poisonous gas. Yes, but just don't get careless, said Mrs. Fox. You know they'll be waiting for you, all 3 of them. Don't you worry about me, said Mr. Fox. I'll see you later. But Mr. Fox would not have been quite so cocky had he known exactly where the 3 farmers were waiting at that moment. They were just outside the entrance to the hole, each one crouching behind a tree with his gun loaded. And what is more, they had chosen their positions very carefully, making sure that the wind was not blowing from them towards the fox's hole. In fact, it was blowing in the opposite direction. There was no chance of then being smelled out. Mr. Fox crept up the dark tunnel to the mouth of the hole. He poked his long, handsome face out into the night air and sniffed once. He moved an inch or 2 forward and stopped. He sniffed again. He was always especially careful when coming out of his hole. He inched forward a little bit more. The front half of his body was now in the open. His black nose twitched from side to side, sniffing and sniffing for the scent of danger. He found none, and he was just about to go trotting forward into the wood when he heard, or thought he heard, a tiny noise. A soft rustling sound, as though someone had moved a foot ever so gently through a patch of dry leaves. Mr. Fox flattened his body against the ground and lay very still, his ears pricked up. He waited a long time, but he heard nothing more. Must have been a field mouse, he thought, or maybe some other small animal. He crept a little further out of the hole, then further still. He was almost right out in the open now. He took a last careful look around. The wood was murky and very still. Somewhere in the sky the moon was shining. Just then his sharp night eyes caught a glimpse of something bright behind a tree not far away. It was a small silver speck of moonlight shining on a polished surface. Mr. Fox lay still, watching it. What on earth was it? Now it was moving. It was coming up and up. Great heavens! It was the barrel of a gun. Quick as a whip, Mr. Fox jumped back into his hole, and at that same instant the entire wood seemed to explode around him. Bang, 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 bang! The smoke from the 3 guns floated upward in the air. Bogus and Bunce and Bean came out from behind their trees and walked towards the hole. "Did we get 'em?" said Bean. One of them shone a flashlight on the hole, and there, on the ground, in the circle of light, half in and half out of the hole, lay the poor, tattered, blood-stained remains of a fox's tail. Bean picked it up. "We got the tail, but we missed the fox," he said, tossing the thing away. And there they are with the tail right there, and there's the 3 farmers. "Dang and blast," said Bogus. "We shot too late. We should have let them the moment he poked his head out." "He won't be poking out again in a hurry," Bunce said. Bean pulled a flask from his pocket and took a swig of cider. Then he said, "It'll take 3 days at least before he gets hungry again. And he'll come out again. I'm not sitting around here waiting for that. Let's dig him out." "Ah," said Bogus, "now you're talking sense. We can dig him out in a couple of hours. We know he's there." "I reckon there's a whole family of them down that hole," Bunce said. Then we'll have the lot, said Bean. Get the shovels. All right, everybody, we're going to stop there. We're just at chapter 4. That's called The Terrible Shovels. We will continue that tomorrow. I hope you're enjoying this great story. Let's do a quick recap about it. So we've got these 3 kind of nasty farmers, and they're really tired of this fox stealing their food and the stuff that they grow on the farm. And the fox has a family. He's got kids. He's got a wife. And that's what foxes do. They go and they look for food, and that's what he does. So who do you think is right in this situation? Is it good it's good that maybe the farmers should share, or maybe the fox shouldn't be stealing? Well, that I know. Maybe they should help him out. Not in that way he wouldn't have to steal. All right, everybody. Think about that, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Good night.